So here's the PC. Basically, this PC went bad on the customer and the dude just wanted to get rid of it, but he still needed a machine for him to game and do his work on. We've got a 1660 Ti in here, 16 gigabytes of RAM, but as you can see, we actually have 2 different sticks of RAM, and the guy wasn't quite sure on what the CPU was. Now, normally that wouldn't be an issue because we could just, go into the BIOS and check out what it was. But the issue is that this PC refuses to post. And that's kind of what we're going to be diagnosing here. So let's see what happens. So like the customer said, it does spin to life, but I'm not hearing any fan curve at all. We do have a debug LED on here. The CPU debug, hold on. That RAM, I don't know if you can see that there. This RAM isn't all the way inserted. This clip is still up. So maybe we'll actually go ahead and start with the RAM. Okay, let's try again and see if we get anything new this time. Yeah, straight back to the CPU light. I mean, it doesn't even try to go to RAM. So what we're gonna go ahead and do next, let's get that turned off. We're gonna pop up this cooler. We'll see what CPU we have under here. We'll try reseating the CPU and see if that helps our case. All right, there's a CPU cooler. Paste is kind of dry, but that wouldn't prevent us from booting. And let's see if we can't spot what kind of CPU we actually got in here. I don't know if y'all can see that there, but we actually have an i7-10700F, which is a much nicer CPU than I was expecting in this system, to be completely honest. From the first look, the CPU seems to be installed properly. Doesn't look like it's misaligned or anything like that. It's possible that we might have some bent pins down there, something along that line, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop this CPU out and check out the actual socket. Installation doesn't look bad. Oh no. There are a ton of bent pins right there. I mean, let me see if I can zoom in. So at this point, I've got a couple of options. Option number one, and the easier option would be to just get a new board. But that'd be like 70 or 80 bucks if I was buying new, or around 50, 60 if I was trying to buy used. Or we could try to bend these pins back into place and save some money. And I think that's the option I'm gonna go with, so let's go ahead and give this a shot. Oh my gosh, just looking at some of these, I'm honestly not very hopeful for this board. So I grabbed this tiny little sewing needle. Hopefully it'll help me get under some of these pins. So I've been at this for about half an hour, and we're at a place now where I'm not completely satisfied with it, but I'm also not too interested on spending more time working on it. So here is what we've got. As you can see, I got most of the pins aligned about as well as I can. These bottom ones right here, those guys were all bent out of shape. They were bent in on themselves. That's why you can see they're kind of looking like curly cues right now, because I had to try to unbend them out of the wrong shape and then try to finagle them into the right position. So I got the CPU here. We're gonna just go in as carefully as possible. Time for the lever. Hopefully we don't hear any crazy noises. Okay, it felt normal. So I've got the stick of RAM plugged back in. I've got this graphics card plugged in that doesn't need any PCIe power. A power supply. Power on. And we're gonna go ahead and jump the power pins right here. Whoa, whoa! Got my finger on the chip to see if it's getting hot. We're actually cycling through the boot lights, and the chip is getting hot. I'm gonna go ahead and kill the power right here. No freaking way! No way! I am like beyond surprised. I did not have any hope at all that that was gonna work. We're not quite out of the woods yet, obviously, but I am feeling confident enough to at least throw a cooler back on here and yeah, see if we can't like get into the BIOS or something. So we're gonna go ahead and just get this cooler back on here. Cooler goes on just like this. I just noticed something. This cooler wasn't actually installed with any standoffs. So as I was screwing here, I was noticing I was just going way too far. It's possible that this was just tightened down way too much, and that's what led to the pins getting bent all out of shape. So before I screw any farther here, I'm gonna go ahead and uninstall this cooler and actually get a different cooler that has standoffs. So I've got the spare Noctua here that I rescued from a previous build. This should do the trick. Telling the truth. So we have fans. We're cycling through the debug lights. Come on, give me a post. We're still cycling. Maybe it's just doing some memory training, come on. Oh, that's not good. Yep, unfortunately, no matter which RAM stick we use and which slot we choose to use it in, the motherboard just wants to flop between the CPU and the DRAM LEDs. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in an order for a motherboard on Amazon, and once it gets here, we'll go ahead and swap everything back onto the new board, which I think will work just fine, and we can proceed with the build from there.
1 week later.
All right, we are back, and it's a few days later in the future, but we finally got the board. Here it is. It's a Gigabyte Aorus board. Got it from AliExpress. Took about a week to come in, but it looks pretty good. First things that I noticed is that it did not actually ship with a CMOS battery, which is totally fine. I've got a few extras on hand, but it honestly looks pretty good. It did not come in like its original packaging, but it does not seem used at all. So we've got our old CPU. This is the 10700F. I am going to go ahead and use this 16 gigabyte kit of G.Skill Trident RAM that I had laying around. Alrighty, I've got the test GPU in, got a little cooler. It's not mounted down, but got some thermal paste on it. It should be sufficient. Got the power supply plugged in. Let's see if this guy actually powers up. Jump the header. Uh-oh. Okay, it just rebooted. We're jumping between CPU and RAM, and I'm pretty sure this is exactly what we were seeing on the last board. Nope, right back to the swapping between CPU and DRAM. Here we go, another 16 gigabyte kit of RAM, 8x2, XPG, some. stuck on DRAM, but it's not doing that flashing thing it was doing earlier. Oh, there we go. I think that's a boot. Wait, so the RAM was the issue? Now I'm tempted to get the old board again and test that out. Hold on, I'll be right back with the old board. Okay, so I've got the exact same setup that I had on that new board with the original board with the bent pins. We are going to try this again and see if we can actually get a boot. So I'm looking up here the debug LEDs. No, so this is the original flickering that we saw, where it's just going between DRAM and CPU. Okay, new update. I went ahead and got the CPU reinstalled with the new motherboard. This is a Noctua like low profile cooler. I just had it as a spare. I thought it looked pretty dope, so I went ahead and installed it. You might notice the RAM is different. This is basically the exact same kit, still 16 gigabytes, 2x8, 3200, etc., etc. But these T4 sticks are just a little bit shorter than the AIDA sticks were, so it fit with the cooler a little bit better. But now that I've confirmed that this is all working, we're going to go ahead and get it reinstalled back in the case, get everything tied down and whatnot, and power it on as a full computer. So let's go. Alright, so the build is pretty much done. All I've got to do now is install this questionable GPU. Actually, before I do that, I noticed that this board doesn't have built-in Wi-Fi, so I'm going to go ahead and throw in a PCI card as well, or a Wi-Fi card, excuse me. So it just pops in right there into that PCI slot. Power cable. And with that, we are pretty much done. Alright, moment of truth. Oh, there we go. Posted right away, no issue. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want more of this kind of content, please let me know and I'll be happy to post it. It might take a little bit of time because I'm still familiarizing myself with recording primarily, but you know, if this is something that people like, I'm happy to put out more. Thanks for watching. Bye.